Nightmare on Elm Street. This is another story for Stephen Black, a special tale from the DIY Horror Stories Australian Special Edition. In the south coast, far south coast, in the nether regions of Australia, remote, small, tiny town, rural area. I arrived here to revisit some memories from my earlier days when my two children were born, not so long back. And I walked into the Methodist church up the road, and lo and behold, the name had been blacked out. Meth Ya Chap. Looks like there's some drug issues in town these days. It always was. It was a very dark spirit here. It's a fertile valley, and for some reason all the places I've moved to around Australia in fertile areas attract the pagans. And when I was here, I had some shocking experiences, terrifying days, literally terrified to death, feeling like I was being spied on, watched by witches in town. It was when I was first coming aware of the spirit operating around me, and all the stories of, you know, the pagan Freemasons doing spells and whatnot around the bush area, and people going missing and children being abducted and murdered. Terrible tales from this area, actually. It's shocking. Anyways, pressing on. This is where my second baby was born, and the man who arrived to deliver her in emergency circumstances. I was 39 weeks. I'd just come back from visiting ritual sacrifice sites in the French Polynesian islands, where they would put missionaries in pits in the rock and hang their heads in trees. And maybe I got cursed or something. I'm not sure exactly how it happened, but my daughter, turns out, was born breached, and I was about to deliver her naturally. And a week before she was due, I was sent to the specialist who'd just arrived in town. And he said to me, "No, you must go in for surgery. She's going to die and you'll die." So he showed me the placenta was right in the way. I couldn't give birth to her naturally, and she was upside down. In any case, he did the surgery, and I was in surgery on the 3rd of June in this little town. Nobody knew this man. He just turned up a week earlier on his Harley Davidson. And I was his first patient, obstetrician, we thought, a man of good reputation in a small country town. Saved me from having to be flown by emergency to Canberra. And he did the surgery, and I could feel everything pulling and tugging, and I could feel the pain of the blood up under my diaphragm. It was aching during the surgery. He stitched me up. I saw the photos of what he'd done to me. Turns out the scar was quite high, higher than the bikini line, and many surgeons have since commented on that scar. Signature, signed, the Butcher of Bega. Less than 12 months after my surgery, he was arrested, charged with mutilation, performing non-consensual genital mutilation on patients, whispering in their ear that he was going to cut out their clitorises. Fortunately, that's not what happened to me. My baby was saved. If she'd not been delivered in such a way by the Butcher of Bega, I would have died, and she would have died also. It could have been a shocking, hemorrhaging moment of a failed birth with the cord around her neck 3 times, and the placenta delivered first. She would have had no oxygen. It would have killed her. So my beautiful daughter is alive today. She's now 23 this year. And that's the story of Lucy and the Butcher of Bega in this little town. I recovered, stitched me up. He called me a few times afterwards, which is a little creepy as well, at home. He was going to come visit me. And apparently he had narcissistic personality disorder, Dr. Reeves. But I'm grateful that he did his job. Had he not have done surgery and identified the problem that I had, I would not be here today to tell you about it. I have another story though. When I arrived at my campsite, the cheapest spot in town, the caretaker, I walk in at 7 o'clock at night, pitch my tent, $10 a night, super cheap, find my little spot next to the horse stables, under a tree, alone. Ron arrives the next morning to ask for my camp fees. He gives me a special rate. And he says to me, last night on East Street, just over there, 2 of the meth dealers in town got into a blue, and one of them chopped up the other one with a chainsaw. Wow. Doesn't get better than that. What a start. So just down the road, the coppers have been there 2 or 3 days with the property cased out, cleaning up the mess, no doubt, getting some evidence of what had gone on. They didn't both die, just one. Nightmare on East Street. The butcher of Bega. And I've got a mozzie on my head now. That one's for you, Stephen Black. DIY Horror Stories, Australian edition. Real. Far out. Mad. Ron knew them both, he said to me. He'd had to kick him out of the park before. And the bad fella, the one that was the dealer, had a reputation. Apparently he'd broken into someone's house not too long ago. He'd been in Supermax up in Goulburn and tied her to a chair and left her there, the woman whose house he robbed. He said he's a prick, he's a bastard. So here we are. I hope he doesn't come visit me. I think he's been arrested now after his chainsaw massacre up the road. Disgusting. What drugs will do to people, how crazy it will send them insane. Absurd things go on in that culture. And clearly there's a problem here in these rural towns in Australia. More and more of that is going to become an issue with the importation of drugs coming in to subdue the population so that the country can be taken without a fight. That's what's going on. Same as what's happening in America. The West Australian coast is now going to become an import zone, remote coast. Nobody's off there, hardly any cops. 2 million people across in West Australia. It's half the country. It's huge. You know, they'll get in easily without detection. The coastline in Australia is absolutely phenomenally enormous, and it's easy to break through the borders. So more drug epidemic on the way for Australia. And here's the next story that I want to share with you.